Well, hello everyone. Um, Welcome to Baby Talk. Generally, it's Baby Talk Tuesdays, but this week it's Baby Talk Thursday. I got the same letter of the word correct, but couldn't do it Tuesday, so I thought I would add it in the schedule today. So, welcome everyone. I'm Cara Wright, and I do this little thing called Baby Talk Tuesdays, where I basically invite you to a different perspective about pregnancy, birth, babies, um, all of the things involved. This particular, I don't even know what to call it, but this particular like topic, I guess I'll say, is one that is so vast and different, and there's so many different spaces and places and perspectives. And one of the things I love to do in Baby Talk is to invite you to different perspectives you may not have considered before, and also to give you tools and techniques to begin to actively choose what's going to work for you, for your baby, for your family, and for those of you who aren't the one that's pregnant and, becoming a mom, but you actually assist moms and babies. These conversations are for you too. One of the things that when I was a birth care provider, um, one of the things that was so, I mean, when I first started, I thought I knew what I was going to experience when I went to my first birth. And it was Yeah, it was what I thought it was gonna be, and yet it was so much more. And I mean, I think you could describe you could describe every single thing around birth and pregnancy, as that. It is what you think it's going to be and so much more. And it's really it's one of the loves of my life, having this conversation with people. So, if it's something that you're interested in, if you are someone who assists women, and families in this, um, really magical time period. Even when it doesn't look magical, it is magical. Um, I do have a group on Facebook called Baby Talk with Cara Wright. Please head on over and ask to join. It is a closed group because we do have conversations in there that can be private. So ask to join and we'll bring you in. And if there's anything in the future that you would love for me to address with Baby Talk that I haven't yet, or a different perspective on even maybe something that I have spoke to, please let me know. What questions do you have? What curiosities do you have? And really, that's where I started with all of this. I thought, like I said, I was definitely, when I came to this work, started out as a prenatal and postnatal yoga teacher. I actually, I will say, like, when you're just born with something that's in you, like when I was a little girl, I was obsessed with baby dolls. Like, obsessed. Like, I got dolls. I won't even say how old I was the last time I received a doll as a gift. I even collected those amazing porcelain dolls. Like, I was obsessed with dolls. And, I could have assumed that that was because I wanted to have children, and I lived a lot of my life thinking that that's what that obsession with dolls was, only. But what I now know is, like, including into it, like, it's just part of who I am. Like, moms, babies, birth, pregnancy. It's one of those things that just lights me up. There's something that I know about it. I know I can contribute to women and babies in the world. So here I am. Here we are. And when I first started, you know, I studied when I first started studying to be a prenatal yoga teacher and a postnatal yoga teacher and a birth preparation teacher. Man, I just read every single book I could read. I went to every different class I could go to. Like, I just absorb so much information, so much information. And the thing that I really started to get clear about is there's just no one way to do it. There's no one way to conceive, to be pregnant, to birth your child, to be in the postpartum period. Like what I started to realize is that the women who had the most empowering, life affirming experiences were the women who actually chose what worked for them, whether they knew they were doing that or not. Sometimes you're lucky and you kind of fall into having a care provider, having a group of people around you, or just ending up with a birth experience that worked for you. Um, there are those, we'll call them unicorns out there. However, a lot of women that isn't the experience they have, and so one of the things that one of the targets I have is to be out in the world giving women inviting women to different perspectives, not from the space of this is how you should now view it forever and ever, amen, because I said it, but more like, what else? Like, get curious about what's possible, what's actually going on that we've never considered. And the topic today, the magic of your baby's choice, like this one is like big because there's a lot of really I will say concluded thoughts out there about what babies are. And when I first started working with women and babies and, through prenatal yoga and then later as a doula, being in the birth spaces and like having the point of view that a baby is kind of just along for the ride and is kind of a blank slate, doesn't have any points of view, isn't really yes, like isn't really like an part of the process, like creating everything along with the woman. That basically, if you're pregnant as a woman, it's your job to grow the baby. It's your job, your body's job to take care of the baby body. It's your job to birth. It's your job to take care of this being. Like it's a one-way flow. And what I really started to witness, I will say, like witness, was the opposite of that. Was yes, that is some truth to all of that. It is part of the story. It is absolutely not the whole story. And I started to witness this in my classes just based on the conversations that I would have with women, um, and also just what I was aware of in my own world without actually cognitively knowing I was aware of it. Yes, I had read a million books. And if you're a woman who's pregnant or you're someone who helps women in this process, like we all know, we like go and we like, and now it's not even just books. You jump on the internet and you can digest a million different pieces of information, a million different perspectives, a million different modalities. Like there's so many vast and varied perspectives for every element of what comes together to be a woman's pregnancy and a woman's birth. And, what I started to witness in class is that babies are absolutely involved. They absolutely have perspectives. We think of babies as kind of these blank slates that, you have this baby and then everything that is that being or that person in the future is things that you're going to input into them. What if that's actually not true? And I do believe most people somewhere in their world know that's not true. You really can't be around birth and babies, and especially when, if you've only had the experience of your own children, that's one thing. But if you're someone who's been with different women, with different babies, with different experiences, like you, there's just no, they are not blank slates. They have points of view, they have perspectives. They would like to be included, they would like to be involved. And I can't tell you how many times I would invite women to allow the baby and the baby body to contribute to them and to their bodies. I know it's weird, but I would just say, "Hey, what if you tried it?" You don't even have to tell anyone you're doing it because people might think you're crazy. It's fine. Um, but what would show up was that a lot of like sometimes the physical um discomfort they were experiencing would change, or the mental or emotional discomfort they were experiencing would shift. Something would change for that woman when she started to acknowledge that her baby wasn't just this like, blank slate passenger, that this baby was here to contribute, that this baby had a personality. Like the thing that I first noticed as a doula, and I noticed it even maybe before that because women would come to my post, they would take prenatal yoga with me. They would have their babies, go through the birth process, then they come back for postnatal yoga with their baby. I did mom and baby postnatal yoga. It was so much fun. But they would tell me their birth stories. And invariably, the birth story of that baby had so much to do with the personality that was showing up. So, you had these babies that were like super chill, um, you know, and that's how the births would be. You would have these babies that could not sit still, that were like through the door before the mom. They were like boom, 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 boom. And guess what? That's exactly how the birth was. And so what I started just inviting women to at the perspective of it was like, look, what if your baby's birth their personalities? Like if you have a baby who's a little bit like standoffish, a little shy, a little like, ooh, I don't know, like, those of us introverted folks, they're also introverted in their births. Those births can just take a while. Those babies need more time and space to kind of go through the birth process and have like, and they can be longer, like time-wise, longer births because it takes that being time to go like, okay, I guess I'm coming out, and so like that's just one example that would start to show up for me, that I began to witness. And the more I witnessed it and the more I acknowledged it and the more I said, hey, like look at this thing. Sorry, phone call. Like, and I started to invite women to also be aware of it. It's like anything. It's like when you start to acknowledge that something is real and true and that it's actually occurring, what shows up is that you then can have more of that energy, more of that element. So when I talk about the magic of your baby's choice, really the first element of that is acknowledging that your baby has a choice. Like, and I'm talking just found out you're pregnant. There is a being, there is a consciousness that is here to be your child. And that first awareness that you're beginning to grow that baby body is oftentimes when people like actually first acknowledge that being, and that it's almost like a possibility in a person's world. But what if I were to suggest that it's not just a possibility, it's actually your awareness of that being who's coming to be your baby? That there is an energetic, there's a consciousness and an energy that is like co-creating and choosing to be your child. And it's there even before, like oftentimes, like to be quite frank, people will like think they want to get pregnant based on their awareness of the being's choice. Like, hey, I want to be your child. I would like to be your child. And that becomes something that is evident in their world. And so then they start going like, ooh, I think I want to get pregnant. And then you think it's because one of the things that one of the access consciousness tools that I absolutely love. And when I first learned this, I was like something I knew, but I didn't have the words for it. It was like, when you just know something, but you don't have like the words for it. But it's like, we learn that, like we're just big satellites. So we say like, what if every thought, feeling, and emotion that you have, or 98% of the thought, feelings, and emotions that you have are not your own? What if it's just that you're that psychic, that you're that aware of the people, places, and things around you? That includes the consciousness that is here to be your child. So yeah, sometimes it works the other way. Like you're like, I'm having a baby, and that consciousness shows up to cooperate, collaborate to create with you. But sometimes it's like this, there's people and like, and you know who you are if you know who you are, but there's women who have an awareness of a being, of a consciousness, of an energy, of a personality that they know is going to be their child when they're a child themselves. Like there is no time in the spirit world. There's no space, like time and space like we consider it here. So you can have that. And all of those things are possible. And so just being willing to consider that there is another being here in the choice with you and your partner when you're conceiving, when you're pregnant, when you're birthing, when you're in those early years before they have the ability to start to communicate in the way that we all have decided that we communicate, which is through language and words, which I would also like to invite you to consider something different. If you've watched any of my baby talks, you know that I am constantly being communicated to with babies, babies that haven't started to create bodies yet, babies that are creating bodies, babies that are just new and fresh in a body. They all talk to me, and that's something that has always been going on my, like, probably my whole life, to be quite frank. And it just, took me a long time to start to acknowledge of that that wasn't just in my head, that I wasn't just having a thought or a visual or a dream or a, whatever, however it showed up. I was actually aware of these beings, and I was aware of these beings' choices. And just like you're aware of when your partner chooses something, or when your children in bodies running around choose something, you are also aware of your baby's choice. And the more you can actually start to go, um, really to just be present with that and to acknowledge that it's actually true, the more you can actually co-create this whole experience with your baby. And I will say, in all the years that I was a doula and I was a prenatal teacher, and I've worked with women in this particular, because I don't actively go to births anymore, but I've continued to work with women and babies and birth and pregnancy. Like in all of the time, like, the more you're willing to acknowledge the being, the consciousness, your baby is part of the creation of it all, would love to be a contribution to you, would love to contribute to your body. Like, how often do we do this whole, like, it's all a one-way street. You as a mom have to give everything to the being, to the body, or to the baby, to the body, like your body, your time, your life essence. Sometimes it feels like, what if that point of view alone can create so much disconnection and confusion? And if you were just willing to go, like, okay, what if for today I was just in the curiosity of, like, if I was willing to allow this baby to, and this baby body, to contribute to me and my body, what would show up? And just see, just play. You don't have to let anyone know you're doing it. And, like, what are the infinite possibilities if we start to know that it's a two-way street? There's a flow back and forth. You can think of it in another way. When you're a person and you are choosing your life and you're choosing to create the life that you know is possible, what does it create for you when other people ignore your choices? How does that feel? And how often we actually do that to babies, and we do that to these amazing beings that are coming to be our children, coming to be part of this place to create something different here. Like, what if you actually allowed them to have the choice and actually acknowledged the choice they have? So I invite you to that. Even if it's just for you, just for fun, even if it's just for a day, and we'll see you next week. Baby Talk Tuesday. It will be back on Tuesday next week. And thank you for joining me today. Let me know if you have any questions. If you or anyone that you know would benefit or be contributed to by this content, please go to my Facebook group, Baby Talk with Cara Wright, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.